Hey you guys, so real quick, short little video here to show you how I want you to create your survey and do these statistics. So the first thing you want to do is go to freeonlinesurveys.com, and then you are going to want to create an account to get started here. So once you've logged in, it should bring you to this screen. If you don't see the screen in the upper left-hand corner, you can click the apps or hover over apps and then choose survey. So I have some prior surveys here where I was playing around with some stuff. In the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to click the plus sign to add a new survey. Obviously, I'm going to want to name my project. So let's name it the Statistics Project. And then I'm wanting to create a survey here. And I don't want to populate with example data. This is something that I'm going to send out to multiple people. So as I scroll down a little here, I'm going to want to choose what's already defaulted here. Is I'm going to choose to send this with many questions. And let's click next. Okay, the next screen that it brings me to here is I can tell it I want to collect basic referral statistics, which we don't want to do. We don't want this information. And I can choose to do advanced. I believe I probably have to pay for access. I don't think I get this for my free account. We don't want it anyway. So we'll click to skip. All right, so now I'm at the interface here where I'm going to create my survey. So I'm going to enter the page title. I would recommend you use the title of your topic here. So let's put our topic. And then we should do a description. So let's add a page description. So you're going to want the people completing your survey to get a little bit of background information. Okay, so just pause the video real quick to type out some short instructions. Right, it says I'm completing a project for my math course. I'm sending out a 3-statement survey. For each statement below, choose one response, 1 being strongly disagree, 2 being slightly disagree, so on and so forth. Some of you, and my feedback to you when you were creating the survey questions, I had stated that you might want to provide a little more background information here about your topic. So here's where you would want to do that for the person completing your survey. All right, next step would be to enter my question, or which is we were calling these statements. So what I'm going to do here first is up in the right-hand corner, I'm going to choose question type. And what I want is an opinion scale. So I'm going to choose opinion scale here. And you're going to notice it gives me 0 to 10, and this I want to change. And down at the very bottom, I'm going to click range start, and I want that to start at 1. And I'm going to click range end, and I want that to end at 5, and it's going to adjust my Likert scale. I also want to change the wording here. So I want this to be strongly disagree for a choice of 1, and then I want this to be strongly agree for the choice of 5, and then obviously I'm going to enter my first statement. So I will type my first statement here. Right, and then I'm going to repeat this for my 2 other statements. So I'm going to scroll down a little. I'm going to add a new question. I'm going to change the question type again to be opinion scale. I'm going to need to come down here, change the range to begin at 1, end at 5. I'm going to again need to change this wording to be strongly agree, strongly disagree for number 1, and then strongly agree for number 2, right? And then enter my statement here, right? So here's statement 2. And then one more time, right? I'm going to come down here and click to add a third question. Make sure that I choose an opinion scale. Make sure that I come down here and change the level. I change the wording, and then I have my question entered. Now, once all of this is complete, up at the top, I'm then going to click to send. And from here, it's going to want me to pay to upgrade. I'm just going to continue as a free user. And then it's going to allow me to send out the URL. So this is what I would suggest, right? If you're using social media, if you're sending this, via Canvas message to your classmates, however you're sending this, right? You can send this via text message. All right, now after, 4, 5, 6 days, however many days you want to collect your data, I'm going to come back to the website. I'm going to click on apps. I'm going to go back to surveys. Here's, again, those couple surveys I was playing around with. This one, I got 76 responses. So let me just click the name of this survey, and let's go to results. And we'll bring up the results from all of those 76 respondents. Now, for the survey that I sent out to some friends, I just made up these really silly questions. Question 1 or statement 1 was bacon is healthy and everyone should at least eat 1 piece every day. You can see that it's providing the frequency histogram for me, the bar graph, right? And it's telling me that I accidentally kept the number 0 in here, so that was a mistake on my end. But it's showing me the frequency of 23 that chose 0, the frequency of 12 that chose 1, so on and so forth. It's actually giving me the mean as well. The mean would be 2.26. Here's a question where I said yelling at the TV when watching football is unavoidable. So again, silly questions. Here's my frequency histogram, again, which technically is wrong. I didn't catch that mistake. And then here is the average of those numbers. So the one thing that this online survey tool isn't doing for me is finding the other information that I'm requesting from you, which would be standard deviation and then the quartiles, including the median. So the way that we're going to actually do this, let's use Excel to do this work for me. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to export. So over here on the far left, I'm going to export, and I'm going to export as a spreadsheet. So I'm going to click that, and it is going to open up this data. It's actually going to save the file for me, and I'm just going to save it in my downloads for the moment. Let me click save. I just want to point out to you real quick that if you don't have Excel installed on your computer, you actually have access to it through your student account. So if I go to Atlas, log into Atlas, up here in the right-hand corner, I can click to go to Office 365. And this provides for me every app provided through Microsoft. And over here on the left, you can see here's access to Excel. So I can click to access Excel here. And then what I can do at this point is I can create a blank worksheet. If I do that, let me create a blank worksheet. And once that blank worksheet is open, I can choose File, I can choose to Open, and I can open a file from my computer. All right, so for me, that was in Downloads, and let's go ahead and open that file. And this was odd. I just got a message that said it blocked the pop-up, so I had to click to allow pop-ups from the mail.valenciacollege.edu. So let me reopen this file. Let's browse, and let's open up the one that we just downloaded. All right, so here's my Excel sheet. So you can see the first column are all the responses to statement 1, that bacon is yummy and healthy or whatever I said there. Second column is statement 2. Third column is statement 3. The next column is it's showing me the date and the time people completed this. I don't really need this information. I'm going to click and highlight the entire column. I'm going to right click, and then I'm just going to delete this column. I don't need that information at all. I don't need to know how long it took each person, the time that it took each person. So I'm actually going to click that entire column and go all the way to the last column. I'm going to hit the Shift button, click again, and it highlights all of those columns, and I'm just going to delete all those columns. I do not need those columns. Right? So here is the 3 statements. So here's statement 1, here is statement 2, and here is statement 3. Right, now what I want to do is analyze each of these statements on a separate page. So what I'm going to do is highlight all of column A, and I'm going to copy this data. Right, I can right click and choose to copy, or I can do Control C. And down here in the bottom, I'm going to click the little plus sign, and I'm going to add a new blank page. And then I'm just going to paste here. I'm going to do Control V and paste that information. All right, so let's use the power of Excel here. So what I'm going to do is create like a frequency distribution, all right? So I'm going to just click on that cell and type the word response. I'm going to click on the next cell and type the word frequency. I'm going to organize my data here. So they either responded as a 1 for strongly disagree, a 2 for slightly disagree, right? A 3 for neutral, and then agree, and then strongly agree. So what I want to do is have Excel count how many people chose number 1 for strongly disagree, right? How many people chose number 5 for strongly agree. Again, I'm going to ignore the zeros I have here because that was a mistake on my part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the cell to the right, and then I'm going to, on my keyboard, hit equals. And what I want to do is count how many number 1s are in my data set. So I'm going to start to type the word count, and I'm going to choose count if. So what this is going to do is want me to choose where are the cells that I'm counting. So I'm going to highlight this entire column. So I'm going to telling it, look in this column and count in all those numbers. I'm going to put comma, how many of them are the number 1? And then I'm going to do a parenthesis and hit enter, and it's going to tell me there were 12 responses that were the number 1. And then actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back and highlight that cell, and I'm going to drag the bottom corner down, and it's going to complete the count for me. I just need to fix this. So if I click here and look in the upper cell definition, it's counting how many number 1s there are. I'm just going to delete that and make that the number 2. So it's counting how many number 2s. Now in this one, I want to count how many number 3s there were. So I'm just going to come up here and delete and put 3 and hit enter. Then I'm going to click again. I'm going to choose 4 and hit enter. And then again on this last one, how many people said strongly agree with the response of 5? So here are the responses from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Here's the frequency of each of those. Now, from this frequency table, I can produce my graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the upper left cell. I'm going to hold Shift and click the bottom right cell, and I'm highlighting all of these. And then I'm going to insert, I want to insert a graph. So right here, your ribbon might look a little bit different than mine. I'm going to choose this first one, which is a frequency histogram, which is a bar graph. So let me click that, and it's going to give me the bar graph here. So notice this graph is incorrect in the sense that I have 2 bars for each of the responses. So I have a response of 1 that should have a frequency of 12. This blue one isn't correct. The orange one is giving me the frequency of 12. So if I click here in kind of this chart space, I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose select data. And I'm going to get this pop up over here on the right. So here's what I'm going to do actually. Down here, it's trying to graph vertically both of the series. I only want series 2, right? So in other words, series 1 is the first column, the responses. Series 2 is the second column, the frequencies. So I don't want this plotted. I'm going to delete that. And there's only series 2. So now it's taking my frequency table and it's plotting that as a bar graph for me. I should always give a title. So I'm going to double click and give a title and just say, this is statement number 1 for my project. And there's a nice graph, a frequency histogram, a bar graph for that set of data. Okay, now the next thing that I'm asking you to do for me is find the mean, find the standard deviation, find all of the quartiles. So let's do that real quick. So I'm just going to click in this cell. I'm just going to say I want the mean. Let me hit my right arrow, and now here, let's actually calculate the mean. So again, once I've highlighted that cell, clicked that cell, I'm going to type the equals on my keyboard, and then I'm going to start to type the word average, and it's going to guess what do I want. I'm going to choose average, and then I'm just going to highlight this whole column, and I want the average of that column. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to give that average for me. And the next thing I want is the standard deviation. So I'm just going to type SD to abbreviate. And then over here, once I'm in this cell, again, I'm clicking in the cell, I'm hitting the equal sign on my keyboard, and I'm going to start to type the word standard deviation. So I'm going to do let me back up one. So here is standard deviation. Now this is standard deviation of an entire population. You can see the description. This is a standard deviation of a sample. That's what we want. We did a sample. And then again, I'm going to just click the top of my cell, and then I'm going to close my parenthesis, hit enter, and there's the standard deviation for that data set. I can continue to do the same thing. So I want quartile 1. So let's say quartile 1. In this cell, I'm going to type equals, and I'm going to start to type the word quartile. I'm going to choose this first option. So I'm going to choose quartile. It wants 2 pieces of information from me. It wants where's the data. So again, I'm going to click this cell. Then I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to say I want the first quartile. So it's going to give me the first quartile of that data set. Then let's go ahead and find Q2. So again, I'm going to say equals. I'm going to start to type the word quartile. I want to highlight the column, and then I'm going to say comma 2. So I want the second quartile. There's my second quartile. And remember, the second quartile actually is the median, right? So that is also my median. And then the third quartile, say equals, start to type the word quartile, highlight my column, say comma, I want the third quartile now, and there is that value. I'm also going to go ahead and let's do the min and the max. So I'm going to type min and max. So next to min, I'm going to say equals, and I'm just going to start to type the word minimum, and it's going to find the min for me. So it says returns the smallest value. So here's my data set. Close the parenthesis, and there's the minimum response. And then I'm going to hit equals and type max. Choose max. Click on the column, and there's my max value. I can't remember if I asked for the min and max in the project. I don't think I do, but we're having so much fun. Might as well, right? So there's my 5-number summary, and there's my mean and standard deviation. Now I need to do this for my other 2 statements. So here's a really cool thing about Excel. I'm not going to have to retype all of this again for each statement, right? Here's what I'm going to do. So sheet 1 was my statement 1. That's what we're working on here. I'm going to right click that, and I'm going to choose to rename, and let's call this statement 1. Okay, so I have quick, easy reference to that. I'm going to copy and paste this page. So here's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm going to highlight the tab. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose to duplicate. So it's going to give me a duplicate. Obviously, it's giving me the same name. So let me double click, and this is going to be for statement 2. So let me click OK, and this will be for statement 2. Now granted, this is all of the data from statement 1, but this is no big deal. What I'm going to do is go back to all of my data. I'm going to highlight all of column B. I'm going to Control C to copy that. Let me go back to my sheet for statement 2. I'm going to highlight the column A, and I'm going to replace that. So I'm going to Control V and paste all of that data. And here's what's really, really cool. All of the stuff that I already had here completely changed and adjusted. So like this frequency is counting out of column A how many said the response of 1. So because that was like coded or programmed, whenever we change this data set to the left, it automatically changes those counts because it's looking in this column. So we can see this all changed dynamically. This changed for me as well. I'm just going to go ahead and change the name of that graph. It's no longer statement 1. And then all of the mean and standard deviation and quartiles all change dynamically just by me copying and pasting into that column. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. I'm going to right click down here. Let me duplicate. I'm going to double click that and change that to be statement 3. Click OK. I want to replace that column of data. So let's go back to our all data page. Let's highlight column C. I'm going to do Control C to copy. Come back here, highlight that first column, Control V to paste. And again, all of this changes, all of these calculations change, the frequencies change, and I'm going to just change the name of that graph to be statement 3. So I have now like a report of statement 3, statement 2, and statement 1. So now you're going to save the sheets back to your hard drive on your computer and then upload this into the assignment for the project in Canvas.